I originally filed House Bill 1104 because, like the gentleman before me said, we are not at all advocating at any time for every tax credit or tax exemption, tax rebate, and we added tax rebates in the committee as well, because there's been a sweeping amount of tax rebates passed in non-fiscal years because you can't pass tax credits. And so a lot of the new legislation will impact tax rebates. And so my bill originally was drafted prior to this session for tax credits, but when we realized that we were passing more and more tax rebates, it became very clear that we needed to review tax rebates. It's about accountability. It's the way I look at it. I'm being asked to vote against state employees, which I'm not doing. I'm being asked to reduce a budget on in the Department of Health and Hospitals and the charity hospitals, FQACs, which provide services in rural areas, healthcare services. I've been asked to sell prisons this year as a legislator. I've been asked to do everything extreme to this budget. But House Bill 1104 says before you ask me to do anything extreme and unconstitutional, give me the facts. Where are we losing money? For the last 4 years, I was executive director of the Black Caucus. We would always request, only from 2008, I said from the time that we begin to pass sweeping tax credits, from 2008 to now, how much of this deficit is from 2008 tax credits to now making up? It's over a third of the deficit. So when you tell me because we're in a deficit year, we're going to have to break our contracts to state employees, which is a bad thing, you never break a contract. We're going to have to privatize education. We don't have enough money to fund public education is what we're being told. And you're pointing to a deficit. I want to know the causes of that deficit. Well, we found out in the last 4 or 5 years that over a third of the cost of the deficit came from tax credits from 2008 to now. And so when they tell you that, you have to go back and you have to look at every tax credit, every tax rebate, and see if it's actually accomplishing the purpose we set out for it to accomplish. I venture to say that some of those, especially the business tax credits, the economic development tax credits, we will see a good return on them if the information is put out there. But during times, good years, times where the budget was stable, we had a surplus, passing a tax credit wasn't as difficult. And whether or not it returned money back to the state like it said it would do was not a factor because we had a surplus. So it became a way where legislators and other government officials began to give money to their district through different tax credits, through pet projects and things of that nature. Well, when we sliced House Bill 1 and took away what they consider pet projects, which was really some of our school tutorial and other things in areas, we never looked at the tax credits. A lot of those tax credits are attached to business, but some are not. Some are attached to pet projects. So House Bill 1104 does this. It says, hey, before I sit down to make another decision on this budget, before I come in for another session, I want to know what tax credits and tax rebates are working for us and which ones are working against us. Because I don't want to invest $30 million in something because it was projected when the tax credit was passed that we were going to make $60 million. And we've invested $30 million. And we've made $15 million, which means we've invested $15 million. There's really no return on your investment. So before I'm asked to do anything else drastic, I think it's good fiscal responsibility now to look at them. We have over 464 tax credits. The bill originally didn't have tax rebates in it, so we don't know how many tax rebates we have. The good thing about the bill, it is inclusive of any tax credit and tax rebate paid, created from here on out. And it's not onerous on any one department because when I sat down with the Department of Revenue, they said, we don't administer all of these. Sometimes we just get a list from the department that says pay A, B, C, D, individual 1, individual 2, company 1, company 2, this amount of money for this tax credit, or give them this tax rebate. So what we did was put a clause in there that says we want the agency that actually administers the tax credit to give the information. Because we were getting very limited information. What we specifically did in the bill was put something in that says we want the report to also include whether the outcome was met. Basically, that's in my words, but the bill says something to the effect of whether or not it actually accomplishes the goal, whether it actually saved the state money, whether it was return on investment, things of that nature. So you're not trying to kill tax credits and tax rebate that actually accomplish the goal, because if they accomplish the goal, they're bringing more jobs and more money into the state. Before I do anything else, I want to look at where we are. and look at how we can bring money back into the budget. We have to learn how to bring permanent money back into this state. Every year we've done a one-time fix.